What's going on, Bulls Nation, and welcome into day 2 of CHGO Bulls Draft Week presented by Coors Light. Make the most of the times you choose to chill. Coors Light can be delivered straight to your door. Go to CoorsLight.com/CHGO Basketball. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. I'm Peck, Bulls_Peck. Big Day, Bow, BAWL Sports. Will the Go Gottlieb, Will_Gottlieb. Our pal and producer on the controls, the one and only Joey Spathis, at Joey Spathis. And joining us today, a wonderful man, yes. A wonderful basketball mind, yes. Writer, editor, associate director of programming at SB Nation, one of the best NBA draft heads on the planet, and personally my favorite part of who this man is, the undisputed king of columns calling out the Bulls' bullshittery. Give it up for the one and only Rickey ODonnell in studio.
A wonderful man. Pretty Ricky, what they call him.
Follow Rickey on Twitter if you don't already, at SBN_Rickey. Rickey, what's up?
That was the nicest intro anyone's ever given me, so thank you, Matt. You are a wonderful man yourself, and appreciate you guys having me. I'm happy to be here.
A wonderful intro for someone deserving.
So I want to tell the Rickey O'Donnell story.
Go for it.
Oh, no.
So he and I did a podcast a couple years back. Do you remember when I had started saying months before how Zach LaVine had never won 4 games in a row?
This is true.
And I said it all the time when we were doing Bulls. I say all the time, like, because I couldn't believe it. And once I know, it went nowhere. I was just a crazy guy talking. So I go on a podcast with Rickey. Shout out Lakina. I go on a podcast with Rickey, and I say it there, And Rickey, look, he was like, "Wait, what?" He's like, "Wait," and I repeated it to him. He was like, "That's real?" I was like, "Yeah." And then he saw him say, "Wow, that's crazy." And Rickey went and he searched like message boards on Reddit and stuff like that, and saw nobody else had ever said this before. I was the only one to say this, and he put it up on his social media, on his Twitter, that I had said this, and I came up with it, and it took the hell off. That made its way to ESPN, made its way to Zach LaVine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They were talking about it on the jump.
Yes, made its way to all of that happened, but it all happened strictly because Rickey is the one who put that out, man. And I'm always appreciative of that, bro.
You thought of it, man. I was just giving you a shout out.
I appreciate it, man. Your shout out meant a lot, sir. So thank you.
Anytime.
My man.
Obviously, Rickey, we want to get all of your thoughts on this 2024 draft class. Draft is tomorrow night, which, by the way, thank you for making time. It's your crazy busy part of the year. You've been on how many podcasts so far in the month of June? 18,000?
Just a couple.
But first, because it is the talk of the town, we also wanted to get your thoughts on the big trade that happened last Thursday. Alex Caruso headed to OKC. Josh Giddey arrives in Chicago. He just did a Zoom introductory press conference earlier this afternoon. You were on that Zoom call, able to ask Giddey a question along with your colleagues. But I mean, I read your thoughts, Rickey, so I know what your thoughts are. But just in case any of our fellow Bulls fans out there tuning in didn't catch it, what are your thoughts on the Alex Caruso trade?
I guess I love the fact that the Bulls traded Alex Caruso. I was begging them to do it last offseason at the trade deadline again. So when that notification finally came through, it's like, oh my God, the Bulls actually did it. They actually traded Alex Caruso. You see for Josh Giddey, and I'm like, okay, what else? Like, what's the pick compensation here? Let's get into it. And it was just a 1-for-1 trade. And at that point, I felt deeply disappointed because the Bulls were in a premium position to leverage Alex Caruso's wide market and widespread appeal to any number of contenders in the NBA to say, hey, give us your best and final offer. And it just feels like Arturas Karnisovas, as he's done so many times as the lead executive of the Bulls, has just totally given up his responsibility to negotiate the best overall package for the Bulls. There was a report that came out yesterday that the Kings offered the Bulls the 13th overall pick in the draft as part of a package for Caruso. Now, you can debate, do you want the 13th pick? Do you want Giddy? I think there's reasonable answers on both sides. But what we never saw is what is the best and final offer from those teams or from anyone else who is interested in Caruso. I think the Bulls could have gotten multiple assets for Caruso without a doubt. I think Oklahoma City, being the team that has 1 million first and second round picks over the next 7 years, would have absolutely thrown in surplus draft picks if they really wanted Caruso, which I think they do because he's a hell of a player and he fits that team like a glove. So just going into what looks like a rebuild here, and already being at a draft pick deficit when you had a premium opportunity to get a surplus, I find deeply disappointing. And then Giddy as a player, I could talk myself into him. 21 years old, has already been pretty productive, has great positional size, impacts the game in some ways, is a rebounder, phenomenal passer, which everyone knows about. But I just think it's going to be really difficult to build a great team around him because he requires such a specific fit. And the fit is that Josh Giddey, if he's going to play, has to be on the ball. He can't play off the ball because the entire NBA saw the playbook on that in the playoffs this past season. Dallas defended him with their centers. They put nobody within 8 feet of Josh Giddey. And guess what? Josh Giddey couldn't beat him. So he has to play on the ball. Well, the problem is if Josh Giddey's playing on the ball, your team's probably not going to be very good because the bar to play on the ball in the NBA is so high. And then as soon as you get a player better than him who demands on-ball touches over him, he kind of becomes useless again. So can Josh Giddey get better? It would start with improving his three-point shot. It would start with like maybe not being a total defensive liability. He has a strong feel for the game. He has positional size. Yeah. He has quick hands. He's an 80% free throw shooter. So if he can get better as a three-point shooter, if he can maybe get a little quicker, I think that could help him. But as a no 3, no D guy, the dude is just not a role player. And as a lead guy, he won't take a pull-up three. He can't get to the free throw line. He puts no pressure on the basket as a scorer. The dude is 6'8". He had 4 dunks in 80 games. Someone we might talk about today, Devin Carter, a 6'2" point guard out of Providence, had 26 dunks in 30 games. That dude is an athlete.
Yeah.
Josh Giddey is not. He's not athletic. He can't shoot. He can't defend. He's a hell of a passer. But, man, I would have liked it if they would have got a first-round pick or 2 with it. But just Giddy by himself, I got to say, I'm pretty disappointed. And that is par for the course for the Arturas-led Chicago Bulls.
Honorary hat toss.
That part right there. Par for the course.
Fucking epic.
Yeah, because that's what they do. Like and like you said, we've seen it in multiple trades they've made. They have no problem giving up that draft capital, but getting it back. Like, what is that? Is it just tunnel vision on wanting the guy that you want, or is it just you don't really care about draft picks, period?
I think Arturas is pretty lazy. They have a small staff as it is, which comes back to cheap ownership. But then Arturas, like, he just doesn't work that hard, in my opinion. He hasn't really done anything in the last 4 transactional cycles. So if he gets more draft picks, I think from his perspective, he's saying, well, the 24 draft sucks. No one wants to trade a pick in 25. And I would say, hey, Arturas, bro, you can get picks in 26, 27, 28. Well, Arturas is probably thinking, well, I might get fired. So how is this going to help me? Well, it could help you if you want to trade him for someone else. You don't need to hold on to him for the entire duration of the pick.
Sure.
So I don't know. I think it just comes back to him getting like so hyper-focused on one thing and then just like accepting it and not really realizing all the options available to him because he's not very good at his job.
The bars.
I'm so happy Ricky's here.
I wanted to get into the report from yesterday that you touched on about the Kings offering the 13th pick for Caruso. Presumably, there probably would have been some salary coming back to the Bulls in that scenario. Who it was, who knows? But as like the resident draft expert and also like, you know, expert on the Bulls, do you feel like, you know, obviously like the cost control element of having the 13th pick, the talent kind of, what do you make of that with just like who could potentially be there at 13, having that guy on a rookie contract for 4 years, also taking back some salary versus having Giddy and a chance to like explore some upside there with him next to Kobe and Io?
Yeah. I think my main thing is like, I just wanted to see the best and final offer. Yeah. Like if they wanted Giddy, cool. I think they probably really like Giddy. But, like, extract some draft picks out of it from the team with the most draft picks. Or if you have the 13th pick, like, 13 and what? Like, you know, would the Kings get desperate enough to throw in a second pick? That's what I would have liked to have seen. In terms of the 13th pick, I think, you know, obviously the fact that you have to pay Giddy after this year is a little bit scary because while I've been ripping Josh Giddey, I fully expect Josh Giddey to put up pretty damn good numbers on the Bulls next year because the Bulls are going to be very bad. Josh Giddey is going to have the ball. Even bad teams score a bunch of points. He's going to get, I don't know, I'll just guess his stat line right now, 17, 8, and 8 or something like that is his final stat line. And he's probably going to get paid a pretty nice contract off of that. I just wonder, how does that scale up when you have better players around him, and you're going to need better players around him to actually be a good team? The Thunder ran into this problem. They had a guy who needed to take the ball out of Josh Giddey's hands. His name is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He was a top 3 MVP candidate this year. They had another guy like that named Jalen Williams. Well, when both those guys needed on-ball reps, suddenly Josh Giddey got very exposed for not being able to space the floor, for not having enough athleticism to actually put pressure on the rim, and for being a defensive liability. So, to circle it back, what could they have gotten at 13? There are some prospects I like in this draft who would have been available at 13. Yes, this is a weak draft, but I kind of think you just want the dart sometimes.
Yes.
A guy I kind of like in this draft is Kel'el Ware, a 7'1" center out of Indiana. Can stroke the 3 ball, can jump out of the gym. He has just a pretty obvious evaluation, I think, as a play finisher. A guy who you can throw a lob to, he can dunk the hell out of the ball. Since I'm quoting dunk stats off the top of my head, I'll tell you, Kel'el Ware had 63 dunks this year. He's a super athlete. He's got a 7'5" wingspan, jumps out of the gym, and he hit 42% of his threes on low volume. So what's the catch? He doesn't really play that hard. You don't really trust him to make decisions as a passer. But when I see a guy like that, who you could get, who's that talented, with potentially a pick like number 13 overall, I would have preferred that for the Bulls from a long-term perspective, just to be like, okay, like, give me Ron Holland and Kel'el Ware. Give me Devin Carter and Ron Holland, or like whatever it is. And again, I don't think that was the best and final package from either team because Arturas just kind of shrugged his shoulders and gave up. He said, we like Josh Giddey.
Yeah.
We'll take it.
Right.
It's like, bro, a lot of teams like Alex Caruso, you can probably get a bunch of stuff for him instead of putting all your eggs into one basket.
And to your point, like, if you just said, sorry, Sam Presti, we're going to trade him because we want this pick, is it really possible that Sam Presti would have, like, just added a pick in there to like make it work?
Especially when Josh Giddey requested a trade, which Sam Presti told us after the trade was complete. So I just feel
and Caruso
like
is the piece he felt he needed to like complete a championship roster.
Yes.
Alex Caruso rocks. He's so awesome. One of the worst parts about this trade is that we never really got to see a good team that featured Caruso outside of those 29 games with Lonzo Ball.
Yeah.
In a slightly alternate universe, is Alex Caruso on the level of like Dennis Rodman as a beloved Chicago Bulls figure? Maybe not quite Rodman, but, you know, in that tier, Noah, you know, like those guys who are just the heart and soul of the team and who can rally the entire city behind their heart, their hustle, and their muscle.
Joking.
And, you know, instead,
Don't cry.
we just kind of had garbage teams around Alex Caruso at the peak of his career. So
You guys
Yeah, just a quick one. So back to Giddy, I wanted to ask this question about his press conference because in it he talked about defense is the thing he wants to focus on the most, and he said the shooting is going to come. Do you feel like that's the right thing for him to be doing, or should he?
Yeah, get better on defense. He sucks at defense. I mean, his feet are made of cement. But to me, this comes back to the fact that he's not athletic. And, like, can you improve your athleticism when you are a 6'8", 21-year-old? Like, maybe a little bit. I don't know. Hopefully. Get him in the strength and conditioning program. Kobe, I think, improved his athleticism. Kobe dunked the ball so much more this year than he ever did previously. So, yes.
and stronger finishing at the rim.
One of Josh Giddey's big things that hold him back is he's a poor athlete. So how do you defend? People always say, oh, defense is effort. Defense is, I don't know, man. If you ever played pickup basketball, defense is a lot about size and athleticism. He's got size. He doesn't have athleticism. Can he improve his athleticism? Maybe. If he could improve his shooting and his athleticism, throw it back at my face, I'll eat crow. I think he's going to put up good numbers anyway. But, you know, there's a lot of low-hanging fruit in his game, I think.
Okay.
There's so much more to get to with our guy, Rickey ODonnell, who's here in studio with us today, CHGO Bulls Draft Week. I do want to touch a bit more on what comes next after this Caruso trade and what you think should come next versus what will come next. And if maybe that involves a draft night trade of another current Bulls player. Plus, of course, we'll take a look at Rickey's brand new draft big board that you just dropped earlier today. Some interesting names there. Some thoughts from Rickey on some of the names that we hear most frequently attached to the Chicago Bulls in mock drafts. That's all still ahead. While we are sharing these words for our friends and sponsors, you know what to do. Hit that thumbs up. Do it for our friend Rickey ODonnell hanging out with us today. Do it for Troll Joe. Do it for Big Dave and Go Too. Big Dave, who's first today?
Josh Madness, what time is it? He said Game Time Hoop. Don't worry about it, guys. He caught that on there. Game Time makes it easy to get your tickets even faster. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to tip off with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views, and receiving at the lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes that guesswork out of buying those tickets. They got the last-minute deals, y'all. Save up to 60% off buying tickets for last-minute events to sports, concerts, comedy, and theater events nearest you. And you can save even more with the flash deals. Exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or the event, or, of course, the zone deals where you do the select... Wait. Say it? Oh, I thought you were going to say it with me. You do the selecting game time? I thought you were going to say it with me. I'm sorry.
I was just pantomiming for you.
I appreciate it,
just
man.
a silent supporting role.
You choose the section at Game Time.
Does the selecting.
I did both for you. My man. That's my guy right there. And, of course, views from your seat, which Matt and I love because we're both tall and big, and we need to know where we're sitting so we can stretch out or if it's a bathroom or something nearby.
And block the views of most people behind us.
This is very, very true. You need this, man. And Game Time is going to hook you up with the views from your seats because you need to see where you're going to be sitting. So take that guesswork out of buying those tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code CHGO. Get yourself $20 off your first purchase.
Terms apply.
That's CHGO. Get yourself $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guarantee. Because Matt Pack, what time is it?
Get that woo.
No look.
Shout out Magic. Today's show also brought to you by our friends at Coors Light, who are our presenting sponsors all draft week long, all offseason long. They'll be with us for our draft party at PB&J West Loop tomorrow night. Come hang out. Great deals on Coors Light. Ice cold refreshment that you need to get through the stress of what the hell AK is going to do with that number 11 pick. It's no wonder that with all of the stress in our lives, whether it be Bulls related, draft related, or otherwise, sometimes we can get a little worked up, and we just need a few calm things to help us choose chill and reframe our mindset. Coors Light celebrates rising above all that stress and choosing a chill mindset. Why not turn a rain-out barbecue into a karaoke house party hosted by Will Go Gottlieb, date TBD?
Flex.
Or after a tough loss, settle the score with an ice-cold peace offering. Chicago baseball fans know all about hard losses right now. Coors Light's there for you. Make the choice to choose chill. Reach for Coors Light. It's mountain cold refreshment as cold as the Colorado Rockies. Plus, of course, when the mountains turn blue, that's when you know it is that cold and ready to drink. When you embrace a chill mindset, it's a good time to choose chill. Crack open an icy cold Coors Light. You can also get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/CHGO Basketball. That's CoorsLight.com/CHGO Basketball. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
Drink, chill.
See, I feel better already.
There you go.
I was starting to get all stressed out.
Right. Was Rickey the first one to ever get an honorary hat throw?
I think there have been a few.
There's been a few? There's been a couple? All right.
But that one was...
During the offseason, though.
I was ready to throw it halfway through his soliloquy.
Yes.
I was just holding it like this.
Well done, sir.
Fully cocked and loaded and ready to go. Okay, so moving on. Do you see, Rickey, that this Caruso trade is just essentially the first of many dominoes to fall? Would you feel better about it if we maybe sometime between now and draft night or shortly thereafter see a salary dump trade for Zach LaVine to further signify that this front office is finally recognizing that this roster ain't it and is going in a new direction? Would you feel better about Giddy being one of the pieces in a starting over scenario if we see more happen after that?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been saying, for a year basically that the Bulls need to prioritize keeping this 2025 first-round pick. It's owed to San Antonio, 1 to 10 protected for DeMar DeRozan from that deal back in the day. So I think it's absolutely essential that the Bulls keep that pick. You can read my 2025 NBA mock draft on Friday, which I'm dropping on SBNation.com, so you can check that out. But 2025 draft, really good class. And I think that it has an obvious star player at the top in Cooper Flagg, who everybody probably knows about. He'll be a freshman forward at Duke. Beyond that, quite a bit of talent throughout the lottery. So I think that the Bulls, by trading Caruso, whether knowingly or unknowingly, they're going to get so much worse by swapping out Giddy for Caruso. My only thing is, in a rebuild, like, don't be at a pick deficit. Like, give yourself more bites at the apple instead of putting everything on Josh Giddey. With that being said, would definitely be pumped about the Bulls choosing to rebuild. Trade Zach LaVine, we'll see. I think, trade him if you could get even decent value for him. If they can only get bad value for him, then, I could maybe see a scenario where he could return. Certainly, the worst-case scenario would be needing to attach assets to LaVine to get rid of him. You don't want to do that. And really, this all comes back to DeMar DeRozan, way more so than LaVine. DeRozan, a free agent this year, and DeMar DeRozan is the floor of the Bulls. If he's on the team's not going to be that bad because DeMar DeRozan still rules. Even though he's about to turn 35 years old, the guy has money in crunch time. He's a hyper-efficient half-court scorer. There's just not really anyone who could replace what he does. I don't know how the hell he's supposed to play with Josh Giddey. If Josh Giddey thinks he's getting the ball, that's not happening if DeMar DeRozan's on the floor. So that's the real swing piece for the Bulls offseason, more than LaVine, more than anything else. Will DeMar be on this team? If not, the Bulls are going to be terrible, and they're going to have a very high draft pick, and you guys are going to be in for a very long season of watching every single Bulls game and doing a live show after that, but it will be for the greater good, because maybe there will be some hope in the future. And, 39 wins probably wasn't that satisfying for you guys either.
No,
Ricky, why you gotta do that, man? We're in like peaceful off-season mode right now.
Yeah, Summer Peck is this is as happy as he's gonna be. Man, serious. When the mustache comes back, then we'll see those things change.
I totally agree with you. I think even just losing Caruso, like, their defense is gonna fall off a cliff. I mean, they were pretty bad last year defensively, but without Caruso, they were like defending it worse than the worst team in the NBA. I think he was worth like 7 wins or something based on the EPM numbers. I don't know. I wonder, like, does this, to me, I guess just trading Caruso at all signifies to me that they're at least, they made a huge change, right? Like, that is different than continuing to go all in, to getting an older player. So obviously, like, it's a little bit wish casting to say, like, here's what they need to do. But are you guys still in a position where you're just like, need to see it to believe it? Or is there any hope of, like, they got a younger player here, no, they didn't get picks, but it's a guy that they clearly believe in as a building block. Do you feel like that's a good step to start to buy AK some goodwill back, or is it kind of like lost cause at this point for you?
Yeah, I think that it just comes down to DeRozan. So if DeRozan is really not going to be on this team next year, are they going to sign and trade him? Are they going to recoup some assets for him? Do they just let him walk? I'm kind of fine with either scenario. I just think, like, what are you really doing if you keep DeMar?
Right.
Like, what is the long-term plan? What's even the short-term plan beyond selling tickets and trying to make sure the stadium's as full as it can be?
But if the plan was a 1-for-1 Caruso-Giddey swap and keeping DeMar and in some version, in some capacity, running it back, that makes the most negative sense I've ever tried to wrap my head around.
Totally. So, yeah, I mean, it sure seems like they're about to break up with DeMar, right? Like, that's what logic and sense would tell you. Yes. Does Arturas operate in the world of logic? I would say I'll believe that when I see it. But just by trading Caruso, the team's going to be so much worse. So, it sure seems like this rebuild is here.
If they do actually let DeMar go, whether it be a sign and trade or just him just leaving outright in free agency, if the other part of that plan from the Bulls front office's perspective is what people have posited, somebody wrote about it earlier today, hey, actually Zach LaVine could be a good fit next to Josh Giddey, who's now here. Can you try to rehab his trade value, hopefully coming out of this offseason surgery healthy, and reminding people of the 2-time All-Star version of Zach? Do you buy that as something that could work and that Zach and the Bulls could make happen without their divorce getting uglier before the divorce actually happens.
I think the idea of let's surround Josh Giddey with shooting, that sounds great until you remember Oklahoma City was the best three-point shooting team in the league last year and Josh Giddey still sucked. So hypothetically, is it a good fit to put a great shooter like LaVine around Giddy? Yeah, you could talk yourself into it. But if your lineup next year is Kobe at point guard, or your nominal point guard, Zach at the 2, and Giddy guarding threes, handling the ball a lot, that team's going to be just awful defensively. And, Cooper Flag, come on down, baby, because I just don't see how they're going to get any stops if they're really rolling with Kobe, Zach, and Giddy. And the question that is on my mind is, can we see the version of Kobe White we saw last year where he looked like an ascendant young guard?
Yeah.
Can we still see that player if Zach LaVine's on the floor? Because those two guys have never complemented each other well.
True.
LaVine always sort of theoretically seems like a good off-ball player, movement shooter, but in reality, he just kind of wants to dribble between his legs and try to take over games at the end. And, it's probably no coincidence that the Bulls were such a good clutch team last year when Zach was hurt. He's just not a very good clutch player. I wonder what happens at the end of games, again, if Zach's on the team. And the Kobe-Zach fit, very interesting. What do you guys think? Can those two guys both be the best versions of themselves on the same team?
I don't think so, and I think that we have a few seasons of evidence proving that. When one has been on the floor and the other hasn't, they play well. When they're out there together, the numbers aren't great.
Yeah, the seasons I've seen Zach be the best player truly on the Bulls, the 25-5 Zach, the 50-40-80 Zach.
Kobe had a significantly diminished role those years.
Exactly. Those haven't been great times for Kobe. And the one time I actually see Kobe ascend and be the player that I thought he could be, Zach was not there.
Yeah, I do think that this version of Kobe now is so accomplished. Just had a season where he scored almost 20 points a game.
Sure.
He is really rising up the league ranks. So I think, now whatever. How old is Kobe? 24?
25.
25.
Yeah.
Like that.
So this is a different player than the one we saw when he was 19 or 20 in early days in Chicago. I'm open-minded to the fact that maybe they could be decent. I do not see a scenario where they can be a good defensive team. But you know what? That doesn't matter. They don't need to be a good defensive team. Because you got to think about the future. You got to sell hope, and maybe there can be hope on the way with this 2025 draft pick.
I feel like, I don't know that you can get the best version of Kobe and Zach together if DeMar's also there, but I do think that if DeMar walks, the usage share will be spread out a little bit in a way that can make both of them better. But I agree with what you said, that a lot of that is just theoretical. We've been waiting 8 years to see that version of Zach, and we haven't seen it. So I think it's time to move on regardless, but I agree with you that doing it and sacrificing a pick just to get rid of him, or just to get rid of him so that you can also bring back DeMar, that just does not make sense to me. I don't know if we have time for one more question, but where do you think Patrick Williams factors into all this? Because they've got to pay him now. He's obviously on the timeline of Kobe and Giddy and Io, but you still got to pay him a lot of money, presumably to protect against other teams maybe sending a big offer sheet.
Is Patrick Williams healthy?
That's
what I want to know, because he had a really weird, bizarre injury, and we haven't heard anything about it.
Not one thing.
And it would be Super Bowls to be they actually have to amputate Patrick Williams' leg because he can't play basketball anymore. No, I'm just kidding. But
somewhere in Luol Deng just felt a very real shiver run up his spine.
He had a very weird injury.
Yeah.
If Patrick Williams can be at his top physical condition, I want him back on the team. I really like Patrick Williams. I think the days of us sort of dreaming about him becoming an all-star forward probably over, and now we can have our moment where we meet reality and we realize Patrick Williams is a really good defensive forward. The Bulls' defense was number 15 in the league when Patrick Williams played his last game for the team last season. After that, from that point on, they were the 26th best defense, which is terrible, obviously.
Yeah.
So I think that he is a very versatile, impactful defender who could play multiple roles for you. I think with another traffic cone on defense and Josh Giddey, you better have some supplemental shot blocking.
Right.
Patrick Williams can give you that. He can give you some wing stopper duties. And he can hit a wide open three-pointer.
Yeah.
He can't really hit a guarded three-pointer very well. It's always been a thing with him that he's, has a slow release, doesn't shoot on high volume, but he's a 40% shooter when he's open. So I want to bring back Patrick Williams. The contract is going to be a little richer than I think anyone would like. But, like, Pat's 21. You know, you sign this deal. It's his age 22, 23, 24, 25 seasons, whatever it is. And those should be the best years of his career. So I would like to see them bring back Patrick Williams. I am not deluding myself into thinking he's going to be an all-star, but I think he can be a helpful role player who can be impactful for him on both ends of the floor.
And I think the thing that a lot of Bulls fans refuse to comprehend is that players like that, who are really solid role players these days, when you're talking about their contracts and negotiations, are making $20 million a year. They just are. Like, those are the numbers now. And as much as Bulls fans roll their eyes at Patrick Williams being a player who's conceivably going to get a new contract making $20 million annually. All right, we got to say hello to a few more sponsors really quickly, then we will come back and continue on with our in-studio guest, the one and only Rickey ODonnell of SB Nation. We're going to take a look at Rickey's big board. I've got a really, really just burning question about who you have at 1 and who you have at 11. Because it's pretty different from most of those boards you see out there right now. That's next on CHGO Bulls. Big Dave, who we shouting out next?
So Baby Joey hit me.
Of course he did.
Send me a text. First of all, he said hello. Say hi to everybody. But he's still beefing with Troll Joe. They still got issues.
Still beefing.
Yes, he doesn't understand him. You know what I mean? When he speaks, he says he steals his little food. You know, Joey Spathis don't go over there to see him no more. He says he spends more time with Troll Joe. He's upset about these things. I'm just telling you what he said.
Joey without a mic.
Just telling you what he said. Just telling you what he said. He just texted me again. He said, yeah, he knew Joey would say that. So, yeah, these are the things. And Joey's over there looking because he never understood.
Never understood.
Never got it. Why? Why these glasses so much? Yes, Rickey, this is what happens.
The full experience.
Oh, he's going to get it all today, baby. Why do these glasses cost so much money? They don't understand. Shady Rays didn't understand, so they said I'll do something about it, y'all. Get ready for the season ahead with quality shades that are built to last, because our friends at Shady Rays have got you covered with those premium polarized shades that will not, I repeat, that will not break the bank. It's an independent sunglasses company offering that world-class product, rated 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Their shades have durable frames. Their shades have crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for your outdoor, and as this man to my right is about to prove, your indoor adventiones. Told me that's a word, so it counts. They have hundreds of options to choose from, so you're bound to find the perfect pair to match your style, and they'll probably have a style in your team's favorite colors. Hello. You can be fly and represent. So exclusively for the listeners out there, Shady Rays is giving away their best deal of the season. Head to ShadyRays.com. Use the code CHGO. Get yourself 35% off those premium polarized shades. Try it by yourself. The shades that are rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people, because it's Shady Rays, y'all, with them rays.
Oh, so they am shady.
Yeah, Rickey, every day.
After you get yourself some wonderfully affordable, super comfy, super stylish sunglasses from Shady Rays, next thing on your to-do list might be find yourself a new set of wheels to cruise around this summer. Beautiful Chicago summer. Well, for your new Chevy, make Ray Chevrolet your first draft pick. Not Alex Carr, not Reza Shea. Visit our partner this June to shop their summer sales event going on all month long at Ray Chevy on Route 12 in Fox Lake and at RayChevrolet.com. As one of the top-selling Chevy dealers in the Midwest, you'll always be able to shop one of Chicagoland's largest Chevy inventories. Plus, you can find the perfect tailgate vehicle. CHGO Bears tailgates are so close, y'all.
Pretty much.
So close. Right now, you can get $12,000 off MSRP on a new 2024 Chevrolet Silverado, or lease the new 2024 Chevy Trax for only $179 a month for 24 months. That's an incredible lease deal for the amount of time that Vooch still has left on his contract. Or cruise into June your own way and shop over 125 of their vehicles priced under $20,000. And, of course, we've told you about the raised price promise, which is the price you see on their website is the price you'll pay when you go to the dealership and say, hey, I saw that car for that price. I would like that car for that price. And Ray and his team will say, you betcha. But first, we're going to do everything we can to find you even more savings right here in the dealership. Shop the summer sales event all month long by visiting Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake or RayChevrolet.com. They've been serving the community since 1963. Together, let's drive. Those are your keys.
I was wondering what
Those
that
are, those are
was.
the keys that I'm tossing to you from Ray Chevy.
Okay.
Did you get your keys from Ray Chevy yet?
We on talk. You know what I mean? I'm going to hit him up, so when I bring him on the show, we'll have that discussion.
All right. Well, just let me know so that I can get mine after you get yours.
Okay. I got you, man. I'll make sure. I'm putting in the word for you. Don't worry.
All right. So, Ricky, let's dive in, man. This is why we're here. It's draft week. Draft tomorrow night. Your big board, let's just start at the top because I was very curious to see. Everybody's talking about, like the Hawks and Alex Starr aren't getting along. He's not talking to him. He didn't work out for him. So they're afraid to draft him. Reza Shea is going to end up going number 1. The guy who we just learned a couple weeks ago has a partially torn ACL. You still have at number 1 on your big board, that being Nikola Jokic. Tell us why.
I've been covering the draft for more than a decade. This was the hardest year to identify the number 1 overall player, and it's the least confidence I have in asserting my number 1 overall player. Topic became the top guy on my board in December when he was off to a tremendous start to the season for Mega in the Adriatic League. He looked like the type of offensive engine that every team wants. Able to create such easy separation with his burst, going to the basket, really skilled finisher, looked like a very good pick-and-roll playmaker, and just the type of guy who you want to put the ball in his hands, surround him with a lob threat, with shooting, and let him go to work. And then he transferred teams. He got hurt, tried to come back, got hurt again. Now he has a torn ACL. So it's obviously a pretty risky pick, but when I look at the talent in this draft class and you think, like, what are the skills that make star-level players in the NBA? You know, you could look at someone like Anthony Edwards, and he has, like, the tough shot-making and has all those things. But, like, really what makes Anthony Edwards so good is what he gets that's easy. And I think that Topic gets a lot that's easy if he can regain his burst after this injury. And that's why it's kind of scary because he's a player so dependent on his first step, on his speed, and having an ACL injury, you know, you just wonder how he's going to come back from that. With that being said, he's one of the younger players in this draft class. I believe he has an August birthday, so he's still going to be 18 years old on draft day. Wow. If he needs to, you know, sit out his rookie year and recover his injury, hey, Joel Embiid once did that. He missed his first 2 years, I think, didn't he? And he turned out pretty good. So you have to try to identify the best long-term talents when you're sort of grading a draft board. That might not be for 5-6 years from now. And just compared to the rest of the guys in this class, Topic, to me, at least has a pathway to star-level, you know, impact. We'll see. Maybe he'll suck, and I'll look like a fool for that. But, you know, you got to put someone at number 1 in this class, and I chose him.
So I'm totally with you. I'm a big Topic fan. I have him number 2. But how much do you like if he does slide all the way to 11 and he's available for the Bulls to take? Do you feel like they should go after him? How does the Giddy thing?
I'm so glad you asked, Will. I'm so glad you asked. Because this is another thing that makes the Josh Giddey trade so bad. Now, there's only so many spots on the floor for a non-shooter, right? We just saw the Celtics win a championship as the first true 5-out team, having nobody you could cheat off of on the floor as a non-shooter. True. Now, there's some guys who they're so good that it doesn't really matter if they can shoot. I will make concessions for Giannis. But will I make concessions for Josh Giddey? And now you're in a spot where, like, if another really good non-shooter falls to you at 13, you got to think, well, how does this guy fit with Josh Giddey? And I'm like, oh, my God. Like, can you at least get something else besides for Josh Giddey for your best asset in Caruso? So, yeah, I don't think Topic really makes sense with Giddey because both of them have to play on the ball. Another guy I really like in this class is Isaiah Collier, a 6'3" point guard out of USC. Him and Caleb Williams could be running around town bringing – you know, some good energy to Chicago from Southern California. Throw Juju Watkins in there in a couple of years from now, too. I love Isaiah Collier, but he has to play on the ball, too. He's much more athletic than Giddy. I think he's, you know, a little bit more dynamic as a scorer, but can they really draft Isaiah Collier now that they have Josh Giddey? So you're just already making long-term team-building concessions because you have Josh Giddey on the team. And so would I draft Topic? I probably would because I think the Bulls just need to be going for long-term ceiling raisers. What the Bulls need is not shooting or rim protection or athleticism or whatever. What the Bulls need is a superstar. And until they get a superstar, nothing else really matters. So that's why with this 11th pick, I think go for the best long-term ceiling raiser. Who cares about fit? There's nothing on this team really worth keeping anyway outside of Kobe, who one of the best things about him, he's very malleable. He can play on or off the ball. He can space the floor. He can do a wide variety of things. And I just think they need to prioritize star power. I think Topic has some star power. Maybe I'll be wrong and he'll be bad. And you could say, Rickey, you don't know ball. What's wrong with you, dude? But, you know.
The other way that would be, in a sense, prioritizing star power is assuming that Topic just redshirts his rookie year, rehabbing this ACL, that furthers the, hey, let's protect that 2025 first-round pick. Because it's not a player who's going to help you win next season.
And again, next season just doesn't really matter.
Right.
Like, you traded Caruso.
I mean, don't tell our listeners that.
21-year-old. And, next season, but sometimes these are the most fun seasons in a sense.
True.
Like, from watching any
true.
team that you like that starts to rebuild,
Yeah.
hey, we're going to see Giddy play a lot. He's been a very durable player throughout the course of his career. Knock on wood, he stays healthy. You're going to see maybe Patrick Williams get more offensive opportunities, as we've all been clamoring for over the last 3 years. I don't know, can Dalen Terry do anything? Like, when they drafted him, he was a raw prospect, right? You were like, well, maybe in year 3 or year 4. So now it's year 3.
Yeah,
like if it's ever going to happen, it's now, right?
True.
In a rebuilding team. So I kind of think like these seasons can be fun in a sense of just like figuring out what you have and starting to build the process of having a good team. So
yeah, it's fun when they have that upside, or you can actually see light at the end of that kind of tunnel. You know what I mean? When you have these kind of teams, like you've been wanting, Will, for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, this is like the start of building towards that light, because for the last 2 years that we've been talking about rebuilding, it's like you have to stop digging before you like start to rebuild. And they just kept on digging and digging and getting themselves into a deeper hole, to where, to your point, Rickey, like the only way out of it was to get assets for Caruso, and they chose not to do that. I agree. I think like Topic or Collier, like they're not like my favorite prospects ever, but one thing that they've talked about so much over the last year is like paint touches and having DeRozan draw 2 to the ball and then spray it out to guys like Kobe, and that's like where they're at their best. And with Giddy, like he's a very good passer, but, and I'm not comparing him to Dalen in the sense that like I say he's as good as Dalen, but one of the criticisms of Dalen is that his handle is not developed enough to where he can really put pressure on the rim to make use of his passing skills. Sure. I think Giddy's like a higher level player than that, but like that's the question you have about him. If you're going to have him on the ball, can he put pressure on the rim to where he can create for others and really make use of his passing? That's what he's going to have to prove this year. And so like, especially if Topic is out for the year and they've got to redshirt him, like why not take up the biggest upside play possible? I'm totally with you there. And you're also quite high on Ron Holland, as am I. He's somebody that worked out for the Bulls. He's somebody that has been kind of in the 10 to mid-teens range somehow. Like,
yeah, Rickey, you've got him at 3. Where do you have him go?
I think I've got him at 2 or 3 or 4, something like that. Yeah. He's in my top 4. Okay. What have you made of his slide? I know you just did a big feature on him, which you should plug now as well.
Yes, I wrote a big feature on Ron Holland. It was 3,000 words. It's at SBNation.com.
It was really good.
You can check that out. I talked to his high school coaches in Texas at USA Basketball. But Ron Holland can't shoot. So I think that like that's just a thing. Like
a toolsy wing who can't shoot.
Sounds like AK's guy, right?
AK just went from 6 to midnight.
Here's the thing. If you can't shoot, you got to be really good at everything else. And I think Ron Holland might be really good at everything else. He's an elite athlete. He's a great slasher. He can generate paint touches with ease. And most importantly, Ron Holland is the best defensive motor I've maybe ever seen out of an 18-year-old.
Wow.
He's just so active on the defensive end. He's going to force so many transition opportunities. He has great ability to clean up other people's mistakes, which is always a nice defensive skill. I do wish he was a little bigger, because when you like start to think like, okay, who can he maybe be? Like where can his shooting come in? I think of like Aaron Gordon. Like, can he get to an Aaron Gordon level of shooting? Maybe. But Aaron Gordon's just bigger. Like, he's got size to be a NBA 3, not size to be an NBA 4. Aaron Gordon also super jacked, and Ron Holland, I think, weighed in at 195 pounds. So, he's 18. He was born on my 18th birthday.
Nice.
July 7th, 2005, baby. And so when I was talking to him at the Combine, I was just, like, struck by, like, how young he is when you're talking about these guys. It's like, oh, he's going to go play in the G League next year. Well, he was just playing against Kenneth Faried and Lance Stevenson in the G League. No kidding, he didn't have that good of a year, that efficient of a year. He's a baby going against guys who are playing against LeBron and Kobe in, like, big playoff series. So I like Holland. I think he's got a lot of tools. He's not a good shooter, but there's a lot to like about his game. And, if he was there on the board for the Bulls at 11, hey, I would really like that pick. I want him or Devin Carter. Topic and Collier as well, but him and Devin Carter, I think, make the most sense for the Bulls with the 11th pick. And if they do that, you will get the rare positive Bulls comment from me.
Oh, see, like seeing gold. Cody Williams. So that's just a name I've seen that continues to fly up the draft board. But you kind of have him down at 14. What is it about him that's kind of keeping him there in that top 15 for you?
Yeah, I think that Cody Williams, he looks like an NBA player the second he walks in. 6'7", pretty fast, really long arms at 7'1" wingspan. But I just sort of wonder, like, what does he really do on the basketball floor? Like, he can kind of shoot, but he shoots at very low volume. Mm-hmm. He can finish great at the rim. That's where he's really good. But he can't really get into the paint because his handle's so bad. I'm going to argue it both ways. Just evaluating the draft for a decade, every 6'7" wing, the thing you always say about him is they need to improve their handle, and certainly Cody Williams does. Cody Williams also weighed in at 176 pounds at 6'7". This guy is a twig. When I look at the development of his older brother, Jalen Williams, who's a total stud on the Thunder, I just see a guy who blew up. Like, he got so strong, and he just runs over people right now. I was on Stacey King's podcast, and I pandered to him by saying he looks like Wilbur Marshall rushing the passer. But, yeah, I mean, Jalen Williams can just run over people, right? Cody Williams is so skinny. Like, I just don't think that anytime soon he's going to have the physical development to be able to play through contact at both ends of the floor. So if somebody likes Cody Williams and they tell me, you talk about long-term ceiling raisers, I think 5 years from now, Cody Williams is going to be the best pick in this draft, I would say, sure, wouldn't surprise me. I mean, maybe. I don't really see it in him, but somebody else could view it through a slightly different lens and really believe in his long-term upside. So he's not one of my faves, but, if he turned out being good, I wouldn't be stunned.
Okay. The other wing that's kind of right around that Bulls area on your big board is Tyler Smith, G League Ignite. And we actually talked about him, I think, in one of our shows last week after we saw that one of your mocks that came out last week had him going to the Bulls at 11. Yeah. And it was, I think, the first time that a lot of Bulls fans who read that mock of yours were like, really? Could Tyler Smith conceivably go this high? Because his consensus up until that point was somewhere in like the low 20s. What is it that you like about Tyler Smith, and would he be on your Bulls, good enough job list if he's who they end up with at 11?
Yeah, so I like Tyler Smith because he's big, he's pretty athletic, and he can potentially be a really good shooter. So that's kind of the sales pitch on him, is he's like 6'9" barefoot. He gets off the floor really quick as a leaper, is a rebounder, dunks the ball a lot in terms of finishing plays. And he made 36% of his threes, but really, like, the Ignite system, he played with Ron Holland, Matas Buzelis. It was just like such a poorly coached offensive system that he was the only guy who really exceeded expectations on the team. I think he can shoot really well. So that's kind of the whole thing that holds his draft stock together. If he's tall and he can shoot, I think you could fit a guy like that into basically any team context, and he could be someone who's like, hey, Josh Giddey, you need driving lanes, you need someone to open up the floor for you. Well, Tyler Smith can be a really good catch-and-shoot shooter. The issue with him is he can't dribble at all, and he's kind of like a throwback stretch four. If you want a funny comparison for him, he kind of reminds me of Ryan Anderson, the old stretch four back in the day.
I remember.
Now, Ryan Anderson, guys like that don't exist anymore.
No.
Really, because now you just have a big wing who can shoot playing that instead of like a center. Now, Tyler Smith is more athletic than Anderson ever was. But he's mostly a stroker, right? Like, you're drafting him for his shooting ability. So, I mean, that's why I kind of like him, but he's projected to go much lower. Maybe I'll be wrong on him. He's a very bad defensive player right now. He can't dribble, but I like his size and his shooting and his athleticism. So,
another guy I was interested in is Filipowski.
Yeah.
Definitely seen his name projected to the Bulls also. I mean, he's got some things that I like as far as the motor is concerned. I like his passing also, but he definitely has things he definitely needs to work on. Your feelings on young Filipowski?
Very skilled. Might be the most skilled big man in the class. You draft him to be stretch five. He's going to be able to hit pick and pops at a more efficient clip than Nikola Vucevic, which, let's be honest, is not a very high bar to clear. He is going to be able to be a really good passer in the half court. Vooch, as much as we criticize him, like, Vooch is a pretty good passer.
Sure.
And his passing has really aided the Bulls in their half court offense over the last couple of years. So Filipowski can do that. I think that, out of a short roll, good passer. You could run, dribble handoffs around him, good there. The issue with Filipowski is that he's slow, he can't jump, and he has short arms.
Yes.
So he just doesn't have, like, the physical stuff you look for in a center. Like, him versus Kel'el Ware, it's like, how do they even play the same sport? Like, Kel'el Ware can just jump out of the gym and is so big. In Filipowski, he's just gravity-bound. He has a 7-foot wingspan, which is too small for an NBA center. But, I mean, if he's a really good shooter and if he's a really good passer, you could see it. So I probably wouldn't want the Bulls to take him. If they took him, I'd think, well, hopefully he can hit his threes and give us some spacing.
So I appreciate Rob Dillingham a lot. I think he's an incredibly explosive scorer. Like, when you watch him, it's very clear that he's, like, a great basketball player. But I'm also a little skeptical about his size and weight. 6'1", 164 pounds. Very just, like, small. And quite frankly, like, it's kind of like a basic criticism, but, like, it's kind of true at a certain point. So I have him a little bit lower than you, not too much, just because I obviously recognize how explosive and talented he is. But, like, talk me into him as a top 5 pick.
I love Rob Dillingham. He's just so much fun to watch.
He really is.
And he was, him and Devin Carter were my two favorite players to watch in college basketball last year as I was covering the college basketball beat for SB Nation. One thing I really love about him is he's just such a sick shooter on or off the ball. Like, on the ball, you could just give it to him, and if you try to go under a screen on him, he's going to rise up and splash a three in your face. Now, a lot of times, those guys aren't great off the ball, but off the ball, he is so good at relocating and, like, finding cracks in the defense where he can, like, come out on a pin down, get a quick catch and shoot. So he's just, like, a really dynamic shooter that I think that's going to be his easiest translation. And then I think he's a really underrated passer. I think he's got very good vision. He throws awesome lob passes. And to be a lob thrower, I feel like that is an innate gift. You can't really teach someone how to throw an alley-oop. You just sort of have it or you don't, and he has it. He throws pinpoint alley-oop passes. I'm not saying he's going to be like Luka and throwing him 70 feet away, but he can, see the roll man, see the cutter, and throw a perfectly placed alley-oop. So I like that from him. The issue, like you said, Will, is he's just small. And it's not even a basic criticism because the NBA is kind of a league filled with big, strong, athletic giants, and he's a munchkin. He's 160 pounds. So the bar for skill level has to be so high if you're going to be that small. You want to comp for him? How about Kemba Walker? Kemba Walker was very small. He wasn't that strong, and he was really good in the NBA for a long time. So I like him. I would love to see him in Detroit. Detroit, they might draft a power forward. I don't know. I think they need shooting. They need playmaking. Rob Dillingham is must-see TV. I really enjoy him. If he's on the board for the Bulls and they took him, I would think, well, that's going to be weird, but I'd be pumped. I don't know how him and Kobe would survive, but he'd be fun.
Another one that Bulls fans are obsessed with is Teran Shannon Jr.
Yes.
There's a huge crossover of Illini fans and Bulls fans.
Yes.
Anthony in the comments asking, what are Ricky's thoughts on TSJ late first round? I think you're probably in the camp of people who would say, if the Bulls are going to make a draft night trade, for the love of God, trade down, not up, right?
I kind of want them to just stay at 11 and take the best player.
Right.
But,
if not stay at 11.
Yeah.
You have Teran Shannon Jr. at 31. I think that's kind of like fringe of first round and second round where a lot of people have him. What are your thoughts on him? And if the Bulls are in a scenario where maybe, hey, they trade 11 for a couple of picks later on, late first round, early second round, is he a guy you'd like for the Bulls?
What I'll say about Teran Shannon Jr. is I can see the vision. Because he's so fast.
Yeah.
And normally when a guy's that fast, they're not 6'6". So the fact that like he has that elite De'Aaron Fox level burst, pretty interesting. Now, Teran Shannon's never really been a good shooter. This past year at Illinois, in his 5th year of college basketball, he finally shot the hell out of the ball. He did really good. And, I just wonder, though, what else is there to his game? Like, I don't have a lot of confidence in him as a shooter. I think it's possible he could be a good shooter, but, like, we saw 4 years of him not being a good shooter. 1 year where, in a very high-volume role, high-usage role, he was a good shooter. So I think that'll be a critical swing skill for it. Teran Shannon also has, like, 0 in-between game, which is pretty important for a wing.
Yes.
He's mostly a guy who's going to play Daryl Morey ball, where he's either going to get to the rim. He'd finish at the rim because he's very athletic. Or he's going to, shoot a catch and shoot or shoot a pull-up. So,
and he's going to lie to James Harden a lot.
Sure. I don't really want them to take Teran Shannon, but I mean, he's going to turn 24 before the season starts. Back in the day, I once got very mad that the Bulls selected a 24-year-old rookie out of USC named Taj Gibson. They have Tyrus Thomas. He's younger than Taj Gibson. Why are we drafting Taj Gibson? Taj Gibson ended up being one of my favorite Chicago sports athletes of all time.
Yeah.
I love Taj Gibson. So I'm not going to automatically ding TSJ just for his age. I do think I would like him more if he was a little bigger, if he could really be a true wing-sized guy. Instead, he's probably defending guards. He's probably not really creating with the ball in his hands, so his shot has to be really good. I don't totally trust his shot, but he's very athletic. He's very fast. I can see the vision a little bit.
Let me ask you, because my favorite guy in this draft is Montes Buzelis.
Okay.
So I just wanted to know your opinion on it.
I thought you liked Reed Shepherd.
No, that goes without saying, but we ain't getting him. So you know what I mean? He's the one. Basketball Joey is my guy. I love Reed Shepherd. That was my guy. But Modest, I love him more so for anything. It's his confidence. His confidence is just out of this world and out of control. He really thinks he's the best player on the floor. But what is your opinion of young Modest?
He's got that J.R. Smith confidence where it's why are you so confident, Montes Buzelis? I want to like him. Yeah. For him, he has to be able to shoot to be good. There's no way he's going to be a good NBA player if he's shooting 26% from three like he just did in the G League.
Yeah.
He was apparently a 40% three-point shooter at Sunrise Christian, which was a prep powerhouse national schedule high school that he left Hinsdale to go play in for high school so he could play national competition.
Yes.
I think that Buzelis is pretty creative as a driver, and you just don't see that in 6'10 guys.
True.
So if the shot's falling, that really unlocks everything else in his game. Now he can put the ball on the floor a little bit, attack a closeout. He'll get into some weird footwork step throughs, Euro steps that look pretty good, and he's so long that he can just kind of lay it in pretty easily and finish. He's a decent passer. He is just someone who he's kind of hard for me to get a grasp on because I expected him to be really bad defensively. Instead, he was kind of awesome, and he had a ton of blocks. Yeah. I think he blocked 65 shots in 30 games or 32 games or something. So
really good help defender.
He's skinny, but you can add weight. He's a very good help defender, very good sort of secondary rim protector. So I don't know. If he shoots it, I think he could be pretty solid. Otherwise, I can see a world where he's just this tall, rangy wing who doesn't do much, and I'm a little skeptical. So I'm a tad lower on him than some people, but I want to like him. And like most guys in this class, he's got the swing skill that'll determine how good he'll be long-term in the NBA.
True.
So you mentioned you liked Devin Carter, and you liked Isaiah Collier. Who was the other one you said you wanted at 11? I can't remember.
Holland,
thank you. You said you want to go for upside. You think the Bulls need a chance at ceiling raiser long term.
Yeah.
Let's go the other direction. What do you think is the 2 or 3 guys or the one kind of archetype that you would just really not like to see the Bulls draft? Stay away at all costs. I don't want this guy on the team. This would really concern me about the direction you're taking this thing.
Well, you know what, Will? Covering the draft for a decade, the number one thing I've learned is humility. I'm very confident in my takes very often, but I sat on these podcasts and said, Jared Culver's my guy. Killian Hayes is my guy. I've gotten a lot of things right too, but I've gotten some things wrong. So I don't think that there's a pick they could make where I would be this is a disaster. I hate this so much. If they took Shannon at 11, I'd be pretty disappointed, but he might end up being good. I don't know. Same thing with Johnny Furphy, who's another guy they apparently like. I think 11's too rich for him. Maybe you're trying to get me to say Zach Edey here. Where if they take Zach Edey, I'm very mad.
No angling.
I could see a sliver of star upside for Zach Edey too. So I'm gonna try not to have a meltdown. Lord knows I had a huge meltdown when they traded Caruso for Josh Giddey. We're learning. I'm only almost 37 years old, so I'm growing into it.
If you want to come have a meltdown on our live show,
you're in the right place.
You're more than welcome.
This is a safe place.
That is a safe place.
You're younger and doing better than us, Rick.
This is the place to be.
Shout out to Charles with a super chat who was asking about Kel'el Ware. We already touched on Kel'el Ware and Ricky's thoughts earlier in the episode. You must have joined late. Go back and listen to the front end to get our thoughts on that. Another one that was brought up, Niles, reading the comments, did you talk about Ryan Dunn yet? No, we did not. Speaking of guys who are sort of on that fringe first round to second round, you have him, I think, right around 30 or 31. Yeah, 30. What are your thoughts on that product from Virginia who people are raving about defensively, but then there are some questions?
Absolute freak defender. Reminds me a little bit of like...
Don't say Chris Dunn.
Thibault?
Okay. Matisse Thibault?
Matisse, yeah.
Or Andre Roberson?
Whoa.
Where he's just kind of like a freak
There's a
defender
pull.
who can't really do anything on offense. If you could teach him how to shoot and all he would have to do is space the floor and hit a corner three, I think he could be pretty effective because he really has some things defensively you can't teach. But, man, his offense is, like, so far away. Like, he was a really bad offensive player in the ACC, let alone in the NBA. So, I don't know. I don't want him. Not 11.
Not at 11.
Not 11. Don't need that.
Best case scenario for the Bulls on draft night. Who is there at 11 that you think might not be there, but it's conceivable that in some way, depending on what the first 10 picks do, that he's there. Best case scenario.
Yeah. Ron Holland, number 1. Devin Carter, number 2. They take either of those guys. I'm going to be thrilled.
Okay.
Devin Carter, high floor, and I'm going to say high ceiling. It makes sense to get a freak athlete next to a blogger level athlete in Josh Giddey. So I would really like Devin Carter. I think that he's a stud. And Holland, I mean, just oozing with upside. So give me Ron Holland or Devin Carter.
I thought you were the archetype for blogger level athlete.
Yeah, and I'm not very athletic.
You are not going to be drafted by the Bulls tomorrow. Probably not. We are just about out of time. Reminder, read all of Ricky's stuff, SB Nation. You can follow him to get all the links to his great articles at SBN_Ricky on Twitter. And, of course, even after the draft happens tomorrow, there's going to be far too early, but not too early, 2025 mock draft from
It's
this
already
gentleman right
in
here.
production. I'm working on the 25 mock draft right now.
So how are you going to be spending your hours tomorrow leading up to and then during the draft? What are you doing?
I'm writing this 25 mock draft, and you know what? My job at SB Nation, I manage football writers. I have my hand in a lot of different things, so I'm gonna be working, man. I got a lot of stuff to do.
So you're saying you don't have time to come hang out with us at PB&J at our draft party?
Too busy, man. Sorry.
That's unfortunate. We wish Ricky could join us, but any y'all out there in Bulls Nation, y'all can join us. It's free to attend. Come hang out with us right around the corner in our neighborhood, PB&J in West Loop. Delicious pizza, amazing drink deals. What? I did get the super chat, Joe. And some fun giveaways, including shout out to our friends at the Collector's Cave. Want to take the other side of that word there? Oh, go for it. That is the one and only Bulls champion 3 times over, BJ Armstrong, autographed jersey. Compliments of our friend at Collector's Cave. We're going to be raffling this off at our draft party, PB&J West Loop, tomorrow night. You can find the link to the event under the events heading of our website, ALLCITY.com. You can RSVP, just let us know you're coming. I think we've already got somewhere between 30 and 40 RSVPs from our fellow Bulls fans coming to hang out with us. We can't wait to see y'all. It's going to be a fun time. We'll be live the whole time reacting pick by pick. Ricky can't come because he's got a real job, but we will be there.
Literally wrote 3-peat on this as well, man.
He wrote 3-peat on the jersey.
This is a hard
That's a nice item right there.
Yes, awesome.
Until tomorrow, you can follow Will on Twitter, Will_Gottlieb. Read his stuff, allchgo.com. Big Dave is at BAWL Sports. Shout out and thanks to our panel producer, always on the controls for us, Joey Spathis, at Joey Spathis. I'm Bulls_Peck. We are CHGO_Bulls. This has been day 2 of CHGO Bulls Draft Week, presented by our friends at Coors Light. Come for those drink deals at PB&J tomorrow night. See you there. Have a great Tuesday. See you, Red. Be good. Rickey O'Donnell.
Peace and love, y'all. Rickey O'Donnell in the house.
Beep, 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 beep.